Okay. Welcome, Coach Jason Scott. Just wanted to invite you on here and just have a chat about football and some defensive coaching points.
Hey, you're not going to get much wisdom from me. I think you'll get a lot of enthusiasm and excitement, maybe some waving of hands. But yeah, I'm happy to come here, Coach. And it's always a pleasure to speak to Coach How I really respect and I've enjoyed working alongside. And we had the opportunity to go head to head not so long ago, so for the first time. So it's always a pleasure to spend good time with good people.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm going to go straight into it, if that's all right. So can you talk about the fire zones and explain to the viewers, listeners, what a fire zone is?
So fire zone is my introduction to fire zone was through Bobby Holmes at Endicott College. And then I kind of added layers to it, listening to a lot of stuff that Manny Diaz did when he was at Texas and now he's at the University of Miami. Basically, it's a 5-man pressure, but with zone coverage behind it. With elements of maybe dropping defensive linemen into coverage. And the aim is to overload one side of the offensive line and try to run a trap coverage. So it always has some sort of robber coverage. Typically, it's 3 underneath, 3 deep, and with like a 5-man pressure. It's something that we've run a lot at Tamworth. We've had a lot of success about it, and we've introduced it to concept to that at Nottingham, and we're looking to do it at GB a little bit as well. And it's just a different way of bringing pressure, but not being restricted by playing man behind it. And the other thing I find it really useful is I like to fire zone the run game. I like to almost dare offenses to run into something that they don't want to run into by, again, overloading the side that they prefer to run. So it's something that we've run to a degree of success at Tamworth, and every year I kind of add layers to it. And typically we're a 3-4 team. I think fire zone from a 3-4 is really, really useful, but then we've evolved into a 4-2-5, and again, we're still using elements of that fire zone scheme, just with a few wrinkles and a few creases in there that really help us get to where we want to be. The great thing I think about for fire zone for me is you don't need to have huge monsters on the defensive line. You don't need a nose tackle that can 2-gap. It relies on speed, it relies on deception, it relies on really good fundamentals. And when we teach, whether it's the coverages or the fronts, we teach jobs instead of giving instructions. So our progression 2 coverage guy who will cover the outside, the hot 2, if you will, is the same whether he's driving down from safety and robbing, or if it's an outside linebacker or inside linebacker, it's the same role. Similarly with, when we got a long sticking defensive end, the exact same for defensive end or an outside linebacker, it's the same job. So by teaching in this modular way, we find that it's really, really beneficial to kind of add pieces to it. It minimizes teaching time and really allows to the understanding of why and how and what and where we run these things, and allow us to really dial down into nuances and tweaks, and can get a little bit more and a little bit more. I think it's our defenses, we want it to appear multiple to an offense. We talk about multiplicity but simplicity. We want it to look complex to anyone's facing us, but we want it to be really simple for us. And by giving the players these modular jobs, almost like an IKEA bit of furniture, you know how they all fit together, no matter whether you get a 4x6 or 2x2, it's exactly the same. So that's why we use it, utilizing our weapons, putting players in a position to succeed, and it's easy to kind of install and really polish really nice.
Okay, so explain, do you have different fire zones for different protections or different formations, or does one fire zone adapt to the formation protection?
I think what we do is if I talk about fire zone in the run game, I think that's what it dials down to, and that's where we get the most success. We find that we get a lot of tackles for loss because of the penetrative nature of what we do. And when I fire zone the run game, the rules will change depending on the team we play. Now, initially, this was all installed to play the East Kilbride Pirates. They run a spread read option kind of deal with some really, really talented runners. So when they're in a shotgun with the running back offset to the left, well, we want to bring pressure to their right. So we want to go, well, if they're running all the way across here, we know where the inside zone going to go. We know that the offensive line are going to zone to the right. So we're going to bring pressure to that side. And we're going to send more people than they can block. The other advantage of that is our backside defensive end, because we're bringing pressure from this side, he's got a spy on the QB. He's just going to sit and squeeze. And it's a Steve Gregory role, coach. How good Steve is at doing the fundamentals right and not being flashy. He's just going to sit and squeeze and dare the quarterback to keep it. So, again, it goes back to that, dare them to run into something they don't want to do. Then when we played teams like the Lancashire Wolverines a few years ago, well, they were more of a pistol kind of downhill, inverted V, if you will. So then we go, well, what we're going to do then, we're going to fire zone, the same side as the running back, because he's at level 2, he's behind the quarterback, he's not going to come across. And when I say at level 0, I mean the running back's at level with the quarterback. Because at levels 1, he's got his heels level with the quarterback. If he's level 2, he's behind the quarterback to the side. It's really hard for him to run across the formation from a level 2. So that says to me it's a downhill run, and we're going to fire zone that side. And then when we play teams like the Warriors, Sheffield Giants, who sometimes have a fullback or a H-back, well, that gives us a key as well where we want to send pressure. Sometimes the fullback goes all the way across and you run like a zone minus, or they run an ISO towards. So those keys are fundamental, which brings us back to your initial point of, do we have a standard one? I think our standard one involves a long stick and defensive end from a 4 technique. He's going to spike all the way into the A-gap. He wants to influence the tackle that he's over. Understanding that his rule will be hands on, eyes off. He's going to be zoning to the right, the opposite direction where we're going to be long sticking. So we want to influence him enough to at least either hesitate and check that path, or to put pressure on the guard where they're going. So we've got the guard and the tackle are going to zone that way, and they've got the end long sticking to the A gap. Now it's really tough for the end to go, because we don't want him to go so far when the center comes across. He ends up penetrating backside A. So the emphasis on when that end steps, he needs to read that guard, and he needs to come across his face and attack that inside shoulder and really influence. So what we're doing there, by that action of that defensive end, we're essentially trying to tie up 2 offensive linemen at the same time. We've got an outside linebacker coming from space from that side, and then we've got the inside linebacker reading B to C. Now I say B to C because if that end that tackle continues on his path and goes to pick up the outside linebacker, then the B gap's going to be open. If that tackle compresses and stays with the defensive end, then the inside linebacker is going to wrap and go really tight to the butt of the defensive end and go C gap. So we've got 2 guys coming off the C gap. It's really important for that inside linebacker to come downhill as much as possible. We don't want to belly, because then he's going to affect the rush of the outside linebacker. He needs to come straight downhill and influence the run. And that's what we call our monsoon, a simple monsoon blitz. So we've got defensive end long sticking to the A, inside linebacker reading B to C, and the outside linebacker coming to C. We've then got a safety coming down playing robber, what we call a progression 2 read. So he's going to read the number 2 receiver until he stops becoming a number 2 receiver. The backside inside linebacker's got final 3, so he's got the 3rd threat, and then the backside outside linebacker is going to have the progression 2 away from that. So that's our standard. If I say we're going to fire zone the run game, that's how we're going to do it. That's our standard day 1 install, what we do. Every one of these stunts is designed to get somebody free. So in the monsoon, it's designed to get that inside linebacker free. So we're going to tie up the 2 offensive linemen by that long stick. Outside linebacker will probably be, should be picked up by an offensive lineman, but it's the inside linebacker that's coming free. The other one we wrap is what we call, so I call these fire zone, the weather blitzes. So they're all named after a weather concept. So if I say we're fire zoning this, it's a monsoon, it's hurricane, it's tornado, it's storm, it's something like that. So tornado, this time the inside linebacker walks down and he wants to influence pre-snap the protection or the concept. He wants to get in the heads of the guard and the tackle here. So as the ball snap, he's going to punch hard to the outside shoulder of the guard, trying to tie them up. Outside linebacker still coming off the edge. The only thing that's really different here is the defensive end is going to jab step and then he's going to wrap to A. So what we want to do in that world, now this is really good when in a pass protection world, where the back's on the same side and that's the man side of protection, that tackle should try and chase that end who's going to jab step and wrap all the way to A. Now, what that tackle's going to find here is got the inside linebacker and the guard who's in his way, and it should be a clear path for that end to jab step and wrap to the A. The nose tackle is going to take away the center. So on that play, the tornado, the end's going to get free. And the final one that we really like, particularly for teams that run jet or outside zone or any sort of speed play and stretch and things like that, we're going to cheat our defensive end from a 4-tech to maybe a 5. And we just say, just cheat it just a little bit. Give yourself an opportunity to make a play. And again, occupy the headspace between that tackle's ears. Because as soon as he sees that end widen, he's going to think, oh, I'm going to speed rush here. I'm going to have to kick back quick. Similar sort of deal. The ball snapped. The inside linebacker this time is going to come and attack the inside shoulder of the guard and take the guard out the play. Essentially, he's going to plug that gap. We've got the defensive end jetting upfield as much as possible with that tackle kicking back. Then we're asked the outside linebacker to fly up and then cut up underneath of the path. So again, that B gap's going to be open again. It's just going to be an elongated B gap because that tackle's going to kick. That guard's going to compress with the inside linebacker action, and the outside linebacker's going to knife underneath. So they're all three. That's monsoon, that's tornado, and that's hurricane. So they're all three kind of run zone stuffs, depending on who we play, depending on what the scout tells me. We've got other wrinkles as well. We've got an option where the nose tackle this time is going to go up to B gap. So again, we've got the end long stick into the A. This time where the inside linebacker would be on the monsoon, the nose tackle is going to jab and wrap to the B gap, and we've got someone coming off the edge. We run a switch play where the outside linebacker long sticks, the end goes to the outside, and the inside linebacker wraps. We twist it, and instead of play side inside linebacker blitzing now, the backside inside linebacker blitzes. So everyone knows these jobs, these instructions. And we can make it so multiple and so complicated for the opposition to get a read on what we're doing. But for us, it's just simple. It's the same 3 stunts, just with different people running different jobs.
That's perfect. So you touched on this a little bit, but I just want to ask it anyway, just in case there's some wrinkles. Do the linebackers sort of sugar the blitzes or walk to one gap and jump to another, or?
Yeah, I think what we can do is our outside linebackers particularly is I ask them to what I say, play the game. I don't want it to be obvious that we're blitzing all the time. Sometimes we want to, sprinkle a little bit of magic and tell the offensive line one thing and we do something completely different. Otherwise, I just want them all to be the same. With our defense, we want it to be as symmetrical as possible. Even with the motion and 3-by-1, we don't change that much. We just change our angle of attack. The big thing that really influences the outside linebackers. So when I say apex to play the game, it means the outside linebackers are going to be playing apex to the number 2 receiver. They're going to be trying to affect the headspace of the offensive tackle, the number 2 receiver, and the quarterback. They're going to be kind of roaming in that spot, trying to influence the run, the pass, and everything, trying to get them to do something they're not. Ben Davis, again, another player, really well, size, really, really good at it. It's good at disguising the blitz, disguising when he's coming, disguising when he's dropping, and I think is really, really good, really underrated outside linebacker, very smart, understands nuances. And again, because he understands the basics, we can drill down into those nuances, and he's really, really good at that. And then we can kind of play different games as well. So if I wanted to maybe bring a safety on a blitz, so again, same job, Different role now. So we're going to long stick the end again. The outside linebacker is now going to wrap to the B. Now we're going to bring the strong safety down to make it look like we're in man coverage. The outside linebacker is going to make no bones that he's going to come, right? But he's not going to come off the edge. He's going to bend to A. And now that's strong safety who makes it look like he's in man coverage is also going to come off the edge. And we just roll coverages that way. So in that case, instead of having a safety driving down and robbing that progression 2 role, we've got the inside linebacker, that play side inside linebacker who normally would be coming. He's now going to pick up number 2.
Okay,
so it's a game of deception, but it's a fun game that we like to play.
Yeah, and I spoke with Coach Wilfred on Sunday, and we were talking about disguising coverages, which is pretty much exactly the same thing. And some players, like say Ben, are really good at it, and and some you just can tell by the body language they're faking or whatever. So it's just experience, isn't it?
It is, and there's some guys who have been playing for a long time who, again, it's the maybe it's something you can't teach. It's the ability to deceive and have a little bit of fun as well. At practice, it's funny that Pat Daly could always tell when a certain player was coming because he'd do exactly the opposite of what he looks like. He says if Chris Blacker's staring down the number 2 receiver, makes it look like some coverage, he's definitely going to come. So it's kind of fun to have those games, play those games in practice, and having a real good offense when we are doing that good versus good period helps us get better as well. And when we self-scout and we feed back this information between me and Coach Smith, and it's really invaluable to allows us to get better and to maybe see things that we wouldn't normally see.
Perfect. So I'm going to take it back just a little bit on stances of your defensive line. You obviously need a guy to get across 1, maybe 2 offensive linemen. So what sort of stance and sort of techniques do you use there?
Again, always. I always coach. I always believe that we want to be balanced. We want to be in a really good, strong position to take on the run or the pass. And because we need guys to move, I'll always coach a 4-point stance. And we're in a 4 technique. We want to be head up. We want to be balanced. Because we want to be feet want to be armpit width. Because when we do run that long stick, that play side foot needs to go to almost 90 degrees and then drop that inside shoulder and bend. So because they're balanced and they're in that head up position, they should be able to go one way or the other. So our base front is what we call angle or angle away. Whereas if we angle, we're going to angle from the boundary to the field. So our field defensive end is going to go C, nose tackle is going to go play side A, strong A. The backside defensive end is going to go B, and we're going to bring pressure off the edge. That's going to be our standard. We go angle 4 or angle palms or something like that. It means that we're going to send 4 guys, backside outside linebackers coming, B, A, C kind of look. If we got angle away, similar sort of deal. Now the outside linebacker to the boundaries coming in, we just bend the other way. So regardless of whether it's a fire zone or what, we still need the defensive line, all 3 of them, to be in a balanced 4-point stance and to be able to go left and right just like that. Because what happens is, if we get a change in formation or motion, the inside linebackers will communicate to the defensive line, oh, something's changed here. Where you were going right, we're now going to go left. And that's something that we coach and we repeat over and over again. Go Ringo, 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 check. Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. So they're in a stance. They think they're going right, and now checked it last minute. Right, we're going left now. They should still be able balanced enough to be able to make that step. So it's really important that they're not too long, they're not elongated, and they've got just enough pressure on the fingers to be able to step either way. And again, stance and start is so important. It is, I think, the foundation for defensive line play, and the ability to read the protection or the run concept on the run is really, really important. So again, that's something we work on in little pods. So we've got defensive linemen in groups of 3. We've got the guy with the head up, say it's a tackle, and the guard, and we've got the defensive line, defensive end. And I'm just stood behind and saying, right, we're going to go inside zone that way, or inside zone that way, or outside zone that way. So I go Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. He's going to drive step. He needs to react to what his read play is going to be, and the read play is always the guy who they're stepping towards. So if it's a defensive end going left towards a guard, well, that's the person who's reading. If he reads face towards, then he needs to put his foot in the ground, a banana step, and get upfield. So that 4-point stance, that balanced stance, is really, really important to be able to execute the mission. We talk about executing the mission. What is your job? Job is to stop the run. Well, sometimes you need to be the sacrifice so we can do this. So you need to tie up these two offensive linemen to be able to allow the outside linebacker to make a play.
Okay, great. And yeah, something that I've found can happen with slanting moving linemen is they get washed down the line of scrimmage. What do you do to sort of coach the players out of that?
Again, it's all about the read. It's not necessarily the technique. It's understanding what it feels like. With a 3 front, in the way that we run it, you should be able to play the position blindfolded, because you're dealing with stimuli by touch. And yes, when you step, you need to be able to see them, but feeling that pressure and feeling out what that's like. So if we are, again, stepping towards an inside zone, you need to step, and what we do, we call it banana steps. So we step and we get vertical straight as possible. If we get upfield and we get washed, well, you need to feel that pressure and sit and squeeze. Again, I can't underemphasize how important that pod work group is to, again, tell them why we're doing this. Well, this is the concept, understand that, particularly in teams that run zone, you're going to have 2 offensive linemen zoning on you. And if you can stop that, one of those linemen going up to the next level, then you've done your job. You need to fill that gap, and you need to be able to make sure your shoulders are square and you're nice and low, and we're stepping, we're pointing our toes in the right way, and we're using our hands in an intelligent fashion. Understand what the difference between a combo block and a double team is as well. We work on that a lot, how to sit and squeeze into that double team. And it's all about repetition. It's fundamentals. Don't try and run before we can walk. This is all installed pre-season in session 1 of camp, and we'll go over and over again, and then we'll get bored and we'll do it some more, to understand. We show tape. This is what happens. This is what happens really good. And then you'll get plays where, if we're sticking in and we're driving in, and you get a pulling guard, pulling away, well, that's playmaker's alley. You should make that play every single time. Or if they zone away for you, well, that's, again, that your aiming spot has just got bigger, because you should be quicker than the guy who's over you getting to that spot of the hip. So it's almost like a race drill. If you're going left and that guard pulls, well, have at it. Playmaker's alley. Chase that shit down. I just want to apologize, Simon.
It's fine. I'm cheating a bit because I saw your talk at the convention and I always remember the banana step and playmaker's alley. But talk about the target point for the playmaker. Where's he looking to attack?
Always, again, I talk a lot about the defensive end, because the defensive end is, in this scheme, is possibly the most versatile guy. The nose tackle, God love him. I was a nose tackle for many, many years, and I survived in an unheralded role. I just need those guys to be a gap. Slant front, just occupy the guard in the center. That's all I need you to do. The magic happen is when that guard, that defensive end goes and shoots inside and can make a play. They're always aiming for the near side hip of the guy they're aiming towards. So as they step, again, so a normal step, not a long stick step for the fire zone, but a 45-degree power step. They're just going to aim for that hip, right? And he's just going to read the hip. Now, the feet would be a huge giveaway, whether they're going to step towards, as the angle straight towards them. Is it a lateral step? Are they going to turn and run? So we teach about hips and we teach about feet angles. Where they're going, what they're looking at. Is the head coming straight towards you? Is he looking beyond you? All these nuances what people like Steve Gregory really good at, Ash Miller's really good at, Wayne Drew's really good at, Will Stone, all these guys who played at high level for me are really, really good at identifying what's happening. So when we do play that game and, the offensive tackle goes left, goes left, goes left, goes left, and all of a sudden we go right, well, all of a sudden something's there for the offensive line that they weren't expecting. I always say, with great respect in the world to offensive linemen, the slowest thing in the world is an offensive lineman that has to think. Because as soon as you think, then what on you will past you. You know, especially if you've got guys who can, you know, burn the cushion, you know, and get and penetrate and get that quick first step. You know, it's the other thing we really work on is quick first step. How quickly can we pick up and put our first step down, you know, and get going and get going and get going. You know, it's awesome. See, Alan Steele does a great job at Tamworth. For me, you know, coaching defensive line there. You know, he's taken, you know, a great bunch of athletes and got them better. And Raffaele Mazzucci and John Winter at the University of Nottingham do an awesome job. Again, they know what I'm like at Tamworth. The guys who have been with me at Tamworth for many years, and you know, they impress the same things, the same fundamentals. And I think that's the only way that, you know, football in the UK is going to get better is high standards and solid fundamentals. So yeah, it's always hip. You know what they do. What's that hip doing?
Right. Perfect. Can we just touch on the dropper? So that you're dropping a defensive lineman into a zone.
Yep.
Now, I ask this at every convention, and every time the guest coach says, "Oh, he just runs back and stands there." Can you offer a little bit more depth?
So, and in the 3-4 that we run, a lot of the time it's the backside outside linebacker. So it's the guy who will be coming, who's dropping. We treat those outside linebackers because they play the game as one of the defensive line. So fire zone isn't always defensive lineman into coverage. It's a 5-man pressure. So when we send 5, it's outside linebacker, typically outside linebacker, inside linebacker, 3 defensive linemen, which means the guy's left is the strong safety or the safety is going to replace the blitz, progression 2. The inside linebacker that's left is going to do final 3, and it's the backside outside linebacker who's going to go progression 2 to the field. Now, typically we'll send the pressure to the from the field, right? So if we're doing that, all we say, the outside linebacker, Simon, you're not going to get much from me. It's just go back. Just go back. Particularly if you're a boundary defensive end or a boundary outside linebacker. Because the threat you're going to get, you might get a slant, you might get a hitch, you might get a drag or go. The only thing that you're really going to affect is a slant. We're bringing 5 guys. The QB needs to get rid of it quick. What are your options? Well, that drag, by the time it's past your level, you know, you're looking at inside linebackers going to pick that up. And I'd like to think that by then he'd be swallowed up. The hitch, sure, but our corner's going to play a good game. We talk about corners. The technique is to puke and rally. They need to, you know, it's like going out. I know you, Sam, you know, go out for a few drinks and you have a bit much. You need to puke and rally and keep on with your night. So the corners are on a deep third zone, but they're going to drive on anything thrown short. So if they make, you know, if they complete that short, I mean, the offense practice hard too. It's a slant we take away. So we don't tell the outside linebackers to widen, because by the time it's wide, that slant's come right past him and they've hit that soft spot in the zone. So we just say, you know, just go back, just go back. Don't worry about coverage, just fill that spot. Your progression 2, you know, if you've got a slide slant combination or whatever, just go back, just get in the way. You know, and that's all we do. And similar for the defensive line when we do drop them. Don't overcomplicate the wheel. I mean, typically the defensive linemen that we do drop are going to be in a final 3 kind of world. I just then need them to sit in the hole for anything like screens or anything that pops late. You know, the final 3 guys isn't that important. We have a coverage that we call thumbs, where we go, okay, we're going to send 6 guys. You know, we're just going to have progression 2 to either side, the hot 2 to either side, and we're going to leave that hole underneath, because a lot of teams keep the maneuver back in. There's no point in dropping 6 guys into coverage when they're only sending 4 guys on routes. So we'll go thumbs. We're going to have 2 men covering underneath and 3 deep.
Perfect. I think I'm going to stop banging that drum, because that's pretty much summed up what.
Don't overcomplicate it. Just
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's good. It's more in depth than most answers that we've had from the question. So I need to find a new question. And defense, do you drop the 4-point stance guys back?
Yeah, we can do. So we've got different opportunities to do different bits and pieces. Now we've gone into a 4-2-5. We have different concepts where they'll just be a hole dropper or just get them into space. So there's always opportunities. Now we call it the weak side's a whip. We go whip that defensive end, and he's just going to just drop and get lost a little bit. and we go stab to the play side. So we're gonna stab, and he's just gonna go out here. So no, stab, sorry, not too much like whip. Stab, and he's just gonna drop off to the outside. So again, because we've got athletes, we've got guys who understand it. You always want to keep them interested. You always want to kind of sprinkle a little bit of magic dust into them and you know, throw them a bone occasionally. In the same way, once in a blue moon, I have a corner blitz. Keeps the corners, you know, happy that they may get tackled for loss or a sack. You know, say, well, you need to cover that ground quick. You know, it's just something that, again, multiplicity but simplicity. You know, they know what the job is. It's a progression to final three job. Just get back. You know, the great thing about you know, defensive linemen as well, they're not going to get too far back. You know, they're not going to get lost into coverage. So they're just going to sit at 7 to 10, you know, and just chill out. Again, because we are bringing pressure, you know, what we want them to do is take away any sort of screen stuff. You know, this is a third and 12 to 18 kind of world. We want to protect the deep, protect the chains, protect the first down, but again, understand screen draw also a threat. So we're just going to say, look, just drop back, find that threat, and magnetize yourself to him.
Perfect. And just so on the backside, so talking about quarterback contain, the backside sort of end is fine. He's sort of sorted there. Do you worry about the front side, or did it just like let it sort itself out?
I want my best athletes to deal with their best athletes. That's the way I look at it. And my best athletes are always my outside linebackers against their running back. That's fine. We've got leverage. You know, we're playing force. There's no way he should get outside. If he flattens it, then my outside linebackers are going to chase him down. Right? If he cuts back, he's cutting into long sticking end or, you know, a jab step, inside linebacker and that nose tackle. So I don't worry about play side. You know, no. We shouldn't worry about play side. You know, what it worries is if we get a communication breakdown or like you say, we get washed or we've misdiagnosed something. Again, it goes back to those fundamentals.
Perfect. And sort of linebacker rush techniques. Can you just do a little bit on that?
Yeah, so it all depends on it. I think path is really, really important. The quickest point from A to B, A, your stance, B, the quarterback, is in a straight line. Let's not overcomplicate things here. Right? So we want to make sure that we are engaging in that route. We're not belling in, we're not overthinking, and we're not trying to run around people. We're destroying blocks or taking on blocks. What we do a lot of is a lot of hand fighting with the linebacker, of seeing that offensive lineman throw his hands. Now, you're coming from distance as a linebacker, so you should be able to see, you know, what that that offensive line's looking at. He'll be there, you know, waddling back, you know, with fear in his eyes as you're approaching him at speed. And all you just need, just flash your hands. You know, we work a lot of you know, double wipe technique or a single wipe and a pat and a rip, or, you know, hand over. So those paths are, you know, as long as that path is clear. And sometimes the path is wide open anyway, and you don't really need to worry about taking on any blocks or destroying blocks. It's just, you know, we're coming clear. You know, we just need to make sure that the outside linebackers, when they come, they go to the backfield, the back shoulder of the quarterback, make sure he doesn't escape. And we're going to that back shoulder, and the inside linebacker is affecting pressure we're getting in the face. I think movement and occupying the eyes of the quarterback as much as anything else. Inside linebacker sometimes is just used as eye candy just to tie someone up. So yeah, it's you know, in terms of that blitz paths, straight line. If you don't overcomplicate things, you know, keep it simple, stupid. Make sure that our primary objective is to, you know, bring down the quarterback or tackle the ball carrier. You know, and Winston Churchill said the great solution to the air menace is to bring the planes down as close to the takeoff point as possible. So let's not let the quarterback throw the ball. Let's get the quarterback on the floor before he's released the ball. And it makes the 6 guys in coverage, their job a lot easier.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. I don't want to take up too much. Is there anything you want? I mean, do you want to sort of promote the GB program or anything?
I think I'm just kind of starved the football. I think, you know, the last game I coached was middle of March last year, and I think we just need to keep the faith and continue to be smart. You know, if the more people are out and about not wearing masks and acting irresponsibly, the longer than this lockdown is going to last. So we just need to trust, the experts, not necessarily the government, but the medical experts, and hopefully that will build towards something really positive in the future. And who knows what the future is going to hold. I had a really good conversation not an hour or two ago about the future GB. I think we're on the verge of a golden age. We've got so many good young people coming through, people at the NFL Academy is doing a great job, youth and junior teams, take-ups on the increase. So we just need to make sure we keep the faith and we do the right things. And just in football, preach the fundamentals. Well, they can't get more fundamental than face, space, hands, wash your face, wash your hands, mask, and all that stuff. So even though I said fundamentals, I got it wrong. Mask, face, space.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot of coaches dying to get coaching again as soon as we're allowed to. So, and we've all been watching Zoom clinics and ready to.
The great thing about the lockdown is that we've become so much more technically literate. These Zoom conversations and podcasts and vodcasts and everything it's a real good opportunity for us to get out of our comfort zones, because you and I were really comfortable on the field and with the whistle and everything and directing traffic and this, that, and the other. We need to evolve as coaches. We need to evolve our game to bring in technology a little bit more and to have these online classes. Dan Smith has been doing online tape and clinic session for years now, because when you're at senior football, the opportunity to get in a classroom is few and far between. And I think that's why the Phoenix offense has been so successful over the years, is because we've had these online classrooms. So it's great that we're getting out of our comfort zone, and the opportunity to recruit online is really, really good as well. So yeah, GB, the faith, we'll get there in the end. Tamworth Phoenix, we're ready to go. We're doing a lot of online classrooms, and we're just kind of waiting to press the button. And University of Nottingham, if you want to come for an undergraduate experience, University of Nottingham.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, my friend. And hopefully I'll get to see you at the convention. We can have a beer or something.
Definitely.